Well, hey there, YouTube. It's Petey Two Finger. I just got back from the Roger Waters This Is Not a Drill concert, the Chicago show at the United Center. This is July 26th. It's currently July 27th. I just made it home, and I wanted to quickly try to express, maybe I'll go through the set list, just there really aren't words for me to describe what I witnessed tonight. It was spectacular. If you've been to see Roger Waters before, you understand the emotional weight that he tries to convey. He'll really try to make some points and hit some stuff home throughout the night. It's not just like, hey baby baby type thing at a normal rock concert. It's more evolved, much more psychedelic, and certainly expresses his political opinions. So that can be polarizing, and that's fine, but really mainly the thing is to open a dialogue or to get people to think, to get people to consider certain things that are often just uncomfortable for you to want to consider, but maybe could have some impact on people as they approach the ballot box or make their vote. It's interesting for me to pay attention to the crowd and hear how they respond to certain ideals, certain things. They're right there with Roger and clapping in response, and then other things they're like when he uses text on the screen, and there was a derogatory remark directed at the patriarchy, and that did not receive a hearty response. Now, the show was at the United Center. I arrived there an hour early. It was kind of a little bit shambolic, trying to find, was misdirected. I ended up in the K parking lot, even though I was supposed to be in the C parking lot, which I guess is quite a bit further away. So I ended up in the wrong place, but bonus round, it was quite a bit less of a walk. And the person that scanned my ticket, well, they scanned my ticket, I got to park. I really didn't know any better, but I did approach the building and ask if, hey, can I use the restroom and then come back out? Because my plan was to consume, I had a wrap and some chips, and then I was going to take a psychedelic mushroom. So this has to be prepared with in advance. I had it powderized, and I was going to add it to some lemon juice extract, and this helps to, it brings the onset faster and it leaves your system quicker. So instead of being a slower, gradual experience, it's more like in and out. Perfect for the show. Now, for me, this was a special day because I had been to my first Roger Waters concert 38 years to the date. July 26th, 1984 at the Rosemont Horizon was my first concert, and interestingly enough, this show tonight was 38 years to the date. I'm curious if even Roger was aware of this, but we saw the Us and Them tour, which was Roger's last tour, and this was on the 28th of July. So it's not uncommon for him to roll through Chicago at this time. What was uncommon was the grandeur of the show, just this in the round experience. The stage is huge, sound was spectacular, and this three-dimensional cross-shaped screens, how bright they project and how vivid the images are, really gets the point across. So I think we'll quickly go through the set list. First I wanted to say there were some people who were a little bit loud. There were some super white, like Chad type guys sitting behind me who were like, yeah, and doing all this like it wasn't genuine. And they, in between that, they were talking way too loudly amongst themselves. If it wasn't a top 10 radio hit, Pink Floyd classic, they were just talking through the whole thing, rather shouting. So here's one for you guys if you're watching this, and I would hate to think anybody who would watch this channel would be that rude, but there's other people there, and maybe it's not your favorite song, but it's somebody's.
Double Birdie.
So, what's that?
Double Birdie.
Double Birdie, yeah.
From me, and I wasn't even there, but you're jerks.
So there were some hombres that came up that offered me their vape pen. Really nice guys. Vatos, Locos, good guys. And I was like, hopefully those Chads don't come back, but they did. I met these other, my three brothers from an Indian mother, Manas, Samhit, and these names are a little bit foreign for me, but these guys were definitely down. They were singing along some of the words, and these were younger guys, and I believe it was their first Roger Waters concert. They said that they flew in from Buffalo, New York, just to catch this show. So these were my wild man brothers who it was their first show. And of course, I'm like trying to explain them, trying to tell them stories. About 38 years ago to the date, I took this Black Dove LSD at the Rosemont Horizon, my first show, and I was trying to tell them about how the impression it made on me, like to be there this many years later, and Roger has just honed his craft, the live experience. It's gotten so unbelievably good that the finale, there was a pile of fouled tissues from me blowing my nose and with tears. I was just overwhelmed with emotion. The way that this show is designed is to really pull at your heartstrings and to get you to think, Now, I'm the old hand at this. I've been to a bunch of Roger Waters concerts. I know what makes him mad. I know what he writes about. I know what the points that he's trying to get us to think about. So there really isn't any new lessons for me to learn. That being said, the messages are still as relevant and powerful. And this tour, the technology that was on display was really spectacular. The in-the-round functionality worked wonderfully. It did not detract. Oftentimes I've heard in-the-round doesn't work, that it's a failure. This was really a world-class experience. You will not find a more influential performer, meaning like that he can kind of get to you. You see, you go to one of these things, and typically it's pretty light entertainment. This is not that. There is some really heavy ideas at play and things for you to consider. Very powerful stuff. The idea of people's lives being ended prematurely for absolutely no other reason than greed. Things like the American military invading and occupying these people simply because we think that we're good and we think these people are bad. But why? Why is that the case, and why is that tolerated? And who is to say that? So this is a lot to put on your plate for one sitting. It's a lot to absorb, and like I said, although this stuff is, I'm aware of what he writes about, and I've been to the concerts and I know his feelings. It's still, when you're there, it's for me, it's really powerful message, and hopefully this can work towards some kind of change. Hopefully, enough people see this stuff. Uh, you you can consider, and maybe it will affect the way that you vote. Maybe it will affect the way that how you communicate, and it'll open these important discords, and things can change towards the better for the human race. Things like getting rid of the nuclear weapons, for one. Even just talking, just opening the communication lines. So Roger Waters makes some very powerful points, whether you disagree with his, like he doesn't like Trump or whatever, like that whole thing. That's kind of really a distraction. It really isn't the point. The stuff that, and I'm not saying that as a pro-Trumper, okay? Don't shoot the messenger here. I'm saying the points that are being brought up here, the stuff to consider is so far beyond any of that petty, fake CNN bullshit. You know what I mean? So I got to tell you, like I said before, the technological thing was incredible. Roger Waters always has some like magic tricks that he'll do. Like on the last tour, he projected some stuff on the screen and then it appeared in the venue. And he kind of did that again. There's some imagery that's repeated that you kind of eventually realize, like, I mean, maybe this is on another plane. Maybe not everybody saw it, exactly what I'm talking about. And I don't want to give it away. But there was magic in the air, and the technology that's on display is absolutely stunning. It is so vivid and so bright and so powerful. The sound is spectacular. The live versions were fantastic. He's played songs that I've never heard him play before live. If you're a fan of music, whether or not you've ever been to one of these things or not, you need to go. This is an incredible event. It was very emotionally moving. And it was really nice to meet those guys, these young guys it was a new experience for them, and they were super stoked. And just meeting some people that were intelligent, that were respectful, and enlightened young men, it gives me a little bit of hope for the world moving forward, meeting these type of people. So with that being said, I'm going to pop over. We're blinking. That means that I probably need to replace a capacitor in this lamp. Opened up with a subdued arrangement of Comfortably Numb, which I gotta tell you, it scared the pants off of me. And then when I kind of realized what the imagery was hinting at, man, out of the box with some really dark shits. No guitar solos, which is I wouldn't say that. A friend of mine reviewed the show, and he said that Roger Waters erased David Gilmour from history on this piece. I just think the guitar solo wouldn't have worked in that version. The subdued arrangement, it was perfect and chilling, and the experience with the video going and then what was shown was perfect, and it set the stage. Happiest Days of Our Lives always cracks me up. Brick 2 had the solo. They were showing David Kilminster's guitar playing, and it was red on black imagery. There's a lot of high contrast images where it'll just be like white pixel and then flat black with Waters. Like they're showing the camera version of him, but it's not a straight shot. It's filtered through this effect, and I don't know what that's called, but it's spectacular. It works very well. Brick 2, the solo, revealed that on the side it's a cross-shaped movie projector screens. Those sides, the end caps, also are able to project image, and those were filled with. It was red on black, and it was the image of Dave Kilminster playing the solo. But those side spaces were filled with psychedelic patterns of kaleidoscope, which was, there's always different things to see in different areas of the screen. And this was what was so entertaining and so smart about it. About all of a sudden, that blacked out area of the screen, that comes on, and it's doing a trick for you now. Brick 2 going right into Brick 3. It was really nice to hear that. It works really well. The Powers That Be is a song off of an album called Radio Chaos, which I saw that tour 4 times. And at the end of that tour, he simulates a nuclear event. And I had taken a little bit too much, 3.5 grams of mushrooms on that one. I think it was the 3rd time I saw that. And I had nuclear Holocaust nightmares for 15 years. Powers That Be is off Radio Chaos, and they have a different version of it, which was showing guys in riot gear with the crossed hammers, and it was like a militaristic drum beat, like fife and drum style arrangement of Powers That Be that really worked well. I just don't think, like, on these more rare songs, you have these guys, these Chads types behind me. They saw my shirt and they were like, St. Lawrence, yeah! And I was like, well, I'm from the countryside area, but I went to LT, and then they were like, well, you know. Those guys were so loud. Bravery of Being Out of Range. This is Roger on the piano. We've never really seen this. He's at home. He sounds fantastic. The new verse to the song could not be more appropriate. And if you haven't heard that song before, it's on an album called Amused to Death, which is really worth your time. It's a brilliant album. And it's even more relevant today. Amused to Death is society being distracted by the television set to the point of our extinction. And now we have the phones and the internet and this type of instant gratification. So it's a very relevant message. But that Bravery of Being Out of Range, he did these COVID sessions, and there's a black and white version of that song where he debuted a new verse, which is even more relevant and more sad at the same time. But I'd highly recommend you check that out, The Bravery of Being Out of Range. You can see that on YouTube. It's a really great live version they did for COVID. The Bar is a new song I have never heard, and I do not remember the imagery. Was it black and white? Was it a homeless encampment of RVs? Have a Cigar, they flash back to photo images of Pink Floyd, especially Syd Barrett, was just excellent. He in the text he's telling stories about Sid, some really moving stuff, the genesis of the band. Shine on You Crazy Diamond was musical highlight. It was spectacularly great, and the visuals were so beautiful. Sheep was scary. Sheep was really scary. There was like fetus babies crawling, and then locusts on them and stuff. And when it like kicked off, there was like eyeballs dropping. Like there was a lot of really bizarre, trippy imagery. We go on break. We come back, and the white pig, steal from the poor, give to the rich. And he's got glasses. The pig's flying around, and they go into Roger's Nazi impersonation in the Flesh. He did a German take on In the Flesh Part 2. Going in Run Like Hell, and he did Is There Any Paranoids in the Audience? This is for you. The full-on enforced recreation. Follow me, you're having fun. Clap louder, like the whole thing. And like for me, like knowing what that is, like all the dialogue that he said during that is the same as what he said during the original Wall Tour in 1980. So hearing that, it was just perfect. It was absolutely perfect. Deja Vu was, I had a pile of foul tissues from, at the end I was clearing my nose. I was just crying. Is This the Life We Really Want, off the disc of the same title. going into Money. Now, Money, they had images of these cartoon pigs in business suits, counting money and dancing. And like one of them was, he was like kind of like in a bank, and he had this money, and then there was a button under glass, and the glass opened up, and he hit the button, and then the saxophone solo kicked in. And then they had a giant image of the dude playing the sax in yellow on black, and like it, just that like sense of humor of Roger that with this pig hitting a button. I'm thinking, what's going to happen with the button, and then the sax solo. And the pigs start dancing, and they're really flailing away like ridiculous disco dancing. And it's an infinity image, so it's multiple pigs going back on like a swoosh, like a Nike swoosh, going back into infinity, doing disco dance to the solo. And behind them was images of syringes with this green stuff flying by faster than you could see. Syringes, like big pharma, drugs, then playing cards, gambling. And the pigs were counting the money and doing this dance. And like it got so bizarre by the end of it. It was ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous. This caricature of the rich and big pharma and the gambling industry. Us and Them is perhaps my favorite Pink Floyd song of all time. It was absolutely beautiful, usually using the original footage. Excuse me, you guys. I got a wet my whistle here. If you've ever seen the original footage taken for Dark Side of the Moon, it was a 75 tour. It's like a bridge. It looks like it's filmed in England, in London, and it's like an overcast day, and these businessmen are walking to work, and in slow motion. And Us and Them is so poetically perfect, and it kind of just neatly lays out everything. All of the stuff that Waters kind of has railed against and protested against and laid out for people to see. It's all there in one neat package. In that song, Us and Them, it is a masterpiece of Pink Floyd. And it's very opiate-like. It's very much like it's got the echoes on the syllable hits, and it's very soothing, and then it comes in and it rages out with that point. The lyrical point is made. So it's a very fluid thing, and it's very powerful. They did Any Color You Like. They did basically the second side of Dark Side of the Moon. And Any Color You Like, it got going so good with the effects and the different sounds, the synthesizers and the guitars with these effects. One thing I didn't mention, in the first set, I was hearing phase shifting, which is an effect. A phase shifter is kind of like that type of thing, and it's a guitar pedal. But I was hearing it in different parts of the mix, pretty distinctly. It wasn't like they had a phase shifter on in the mix. It was like a superimposed or a in the background. What do they call that? Like not like a message that you're not supposed to really hear, but your brain picks up on it. What is that called?
Subconscious.
Subliminal, like a subliminal phase shifting, and it was like it was in like maybe the bar, but Have a Cigar for sure, and Wish You Were Here, and Shining You Crazy Diamond, and Sheep. I think the whole second half of the set was this phase shifting was going on, and it was subtle, and it was really cool, and I've never heard anything like that. The sound was really good, but Any Color You Like was a real highlight for me. Now, Brain Damage Eclipse, of course, he does a trick in the song with the stage equipment. The last time I saw them, it was really cool. This time it was different, and it was maybe even cooler. and I don't want to ruin this for anyone, but there isn't a better Pink Floyd song than Eclipse. And the point that he makes of, everything under the sun is in tune, but the sun is eclipsed by the moon, points towards entropy, or the fact that, like Christians believe Satan rules this earth. And that's the part of Pink Floyd music that's that madness that, like, you can't win. Like, the cards are stacked. And him pointing that out so poetically in that last verse of Eclipse, the end of the album, is like why the dark side of the moon exists and what he was getting at. Like, it's such a really heavy and poignant lyric, and the way it comes together in Eclipse, which makes it the masterwork that it is. So seeing that come together, and with the light show and the magic trick that he does with the stage craft, it's really a very powerful moment, So he basically kind of took a break and talked for a while. And then they did Two Suns in the Sunset off the final cut, which is a nuclear war scenario. And that was orange and blue, dark blue, and I'll never forget how unbelievably beautiful it was. The images of people being dissolved by flame, with their hands falling into little squares, falling apart and being blown away into nothing. These hands turning into skeletons, turning into nothing, as the image of these squares are falling off. So very, very powerful stuff, and very beautiful. And the instrumentation in the end of the whole sax solo, everything about Two Suns in the Sunset. The band, man, they were a full sounding band. Very powerful and very full. Like, I don't know if he had extra musicians. We do see John Caron, who is the utility man. John Caron's a little guy. He's not a macho looking dude. He's a smaller guy with small countenance, and he's fair looking. And he is like, he can sing all that stuff. He can play the piano on all of it. He can play all the stringed parts. So he is a utility man. He's a secret weapon in that band. And boy, the sound and the music was just absolutely phenomenal. It's not just the stagecraft. It's not just the laser lights or whatever you're thinking, fog machine, like stupid movies that he's showing. It's a combination of everything, which makes this so powerful. And if you've never seen Roger Waters, you need to run, don't walk. This was absolutely incredible. Reprising the bar, bookending the sets, because they played the beginning of the bar in track 7. So he brought that back around, and I remember the line being something, "Get off our fucking land," the end of it. Like it's really beautiful and harmonious, and then it comes in, and the last line is like typical American, And the final track was Outside the Wall, which is the final track on the wall, and the way they did that, it was really classy. Waters on the piano, they do it. The version was just spectacular and really dry and really wry sounding. And then they all walk in a line, and he's announcing the members of the band. The camera follows them out, and then they're in a back room. The curtain closes behind Roger, and they've got the camera on him. They're no longer on the stage. And he directs the last bar of it. And I have to add, he's very fit for 78 years old. And then he brings the last notes to a close, and the screen goes to black, and that was it. So hearing him do Outside the Wall was perfect. It was perfect. Some hand in hand, some gathered together in bands. The bleeding hearts and the artists make their stand.
And when they've given you their all, some stagger and fall, after all, it's not easy, banging your heart against some mad bugger's wall. And that was it. That was it. That was a show review. Thank you for joining me. It was mind-blowingly great. If this is his farewell concert, it's the last time I will see him. If it's not, you'll be watching another one of these videos if you stick with me. It was great to meet those three guys. They were really, really good people. They really were. I was embarrassed of the white guys behind me. They grew up in my area, and those guys were assholes. They were nothing but way too loud and boisterous, and also like throwing shade on certain things they didn't agree with, and just being way too loud. It's absolutely embarrassing for me, you know. But I met some cool people. I had a couple of really good conversations tonight. Made it home safe. The show was mind-blowingly incredible. But Roger Waters' shows always are. Now this one, I gotta say, it was a little bit just better. So if you don't have your tickets, shame on you. You should get some. Go check it out. This is not a drill. And the point is made very well. You'll understand it more if you go to the show, why he's calling it that. And with that being said, I'm going to let you guys go. Try to stay cool. Hug your pets. Be good to your loved ones. Be true to yourself. And peace.